Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this wonderful planet of ours. Welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast, where we promise we are not going to be hyperbolic, extra, over the top, wherever else you've seen on social media. James and I are going to have a really good chat. Welcome, good morning, podcast brother. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm certainly a lot better than I was, about not long after 24 hours ago. But taking some time to reflect, try to stay off social media as much as I possibly can do, and yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to having a bit of catharsis with you, Amanda, this morning.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, so just a quick one. We weren't due to go live this morning. We were going to do it later. I've been away overnight for Carl's Christmas do, and there was some great Arsenal fans that we had chats with, and everyone's, obviously we're all a little bit down at the beginning, but it is what it is. One loss in 18, James. One loss in the last. Well, no, is it 18 or two losses? I don't know what it is, but it's because we lost to Liverpool, so we've lost two. That's you have to all bear with me. I've had a very late night, so James is going to get the stats correct when I don't. Um, so James, talk to me about how you're feeling this morning, and then we will go into everything. All right. Now, people in the chat room or wherever you're watching us, we are very happy to take your comments, questions, everything. Please just put them in the chat room and we will get to them. But welcome to everybody in the chat room.
I'm feeling, I'm feeling okay. I'm
Yeah.
certainly feeling a lot better than I was kind of immediately after the final whistle because I think we'd originally spoken about going live straight after the game. I think that would have been a bad idea in hindsight because I was not a happy bunny to say the least as soon as that goal went in. Just because I felt so frustrated, I felt like it's a game we could have won, and it's not a game we deserve to lose. Like we had so many opportunities to win that game. And I'm not going to take anything away from Villa. I think they're an excellent side at home. I think it was one of those games where they described it as a cup tie in commentary, and it's one of those ones where they deserve to win it as much as I think we did because both teams had such a good line share of chances, which doesn't make any sense. But you know what I mean? Both teams had good opportunities to win this game. And it was exciting. It was pinball stuff, great game for the neutral. Um, but those sort of chaotic games, oh my god, my heart was in my mouth for almost all of it, and um, that just dagger at the end. It can happen at Villa Park. It's a really tough place to go. City have lost there. They've lost one in 31, probably 32 now.
Yeah.
At their home ground. So I think, to be honest, I was probably underestimating this game. I didn't realise how good of a form Aston Villa were in. They've been the form side since the end of September, really. They're just winning games for fun at the minute, scoring loads of goals.
And
It's going to be
I think
tough.
I suppose that's where I came in with my 1-1, and you and James went. You went 2-0. Chris went 1-0. I just thought they do normally turn it on for us, don't they? I don't know what it is with teams with us, and I'm trying to find something that I wanted to read out to everybody. I'll find it in a minute. Is that teams raise their game for us? They really do. So let's get into the bit before. So let's just touch on Brentford because obviously we didn't go live. And the reason we didn't go live last night was because I was rushing out. It isn't because we lost, but it is better sometimes when you lose to do it the next day. You have a little bit more, what's that, calmness about how you're feeling. And I will say this. I'll go into a few bits later, but let's talk about Brentford. So, you were there, weren't you, on Wednesday night?
Of course.
Yep. So, I thought the atmosphere was good. He tried to bolster it, didn't he? Kept saying 7:30 kickoff. Arteta in the press conferences and in his press releases. He wanted us there. I found the atmosphere because I often find it a little bit flat. I thought it was good. You know, just talk to us a little bit about that game. We can go into that and then we'll move on to yesterday.
Yeah, the scoreline in that game made it look like a bit of a formality, but it wasn't really that. I didn't think it was a straightforward game at all. But I was
Mm.
glad that we made a good few changes. We brought in Ben White. We made a couple of other changes around the pitch, and I think that goal fairly early on in the game from Marino, made it a bit more comfortable. I definitely don't think we were amazing on the night. Don't think we really had to be quite honest. I think it was an energy conserving performance. We knew when we got that early goal, there wasn't really an onus on us to exert tons and tons and tons of energy into this game. But then it did get a bit cagey towards the end. I mean, Brentford had a couple of half chances. They brought on Thiago, made it a bit more tetchy. But then that Bukayo Saka goal to finish it off, which Kelleher will probably feel he could have done better with. 2-0, job done. Looks routine at the end of it, but I mean, it was a performance I don't think a lot of people are going to be ranting and raving about. But you know, we've won not at a canter, but you know, in third gear really, and it's just a shame that we couldn't have followed it up with a more positive result yesterday.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. I actually quite enjoyed Wednesday evening. Thursday evening, I was at a charity sports quiz with a lot of gooners that actually go home and away. And one guy said to me, "Like, I wasn't there last night. Was it boring?" I said, "I wasn't bored, actually. I thought it was quite a good game. We could only enjoy it, obviously, once the Saka goal just gradually got over the line and we had 8 minutes of enjoyment. But unfortunately, it's games like that. You got to win and move on next because that's where we are at the moment. They're coming thick and fast. And the problem we've got, and I think people don't appreciate this, is Saliba, Gabriel, Mascara are all out. That is absolutely massive to us. And then to have a makeshift back four, which is great because we've got Ben White back, you've got Jurien Timber that can play, in centre back. You've got Skelly on the bench. So we have the cover. But I'm sorry, Saliba and Gabriel are the top. They're Rolls Royce. Whatever you're going to bring in, and Hincapie's doing okay, is not going to be that level. So I do feel it affects the midfield a little bit. And bringing Odegaard back, I felt pushes Declan Rice slightly back as well. But I was all right with that. Listen, we've got injury after injury, and I don't care what anyone says about any other club. I've never known anything like this. Every game, James. Every game. Mascara went down right in front of me and he winced. And I thought, here we go. How can we have three centre backs out at our club? Then we all were hoping, weren't we, that Saliba was going to be fit for yesterday. To not even see him on the bench was just devastating, to be fair. But I just had a feeling yesterday. I didn't think we'd lose. I thought it was going to be a really, really tough draw. I really thought that. So at 1-1, anyway, we'll get into that. So I'm jumping a little bit. I haven't got any notes ready because this is a quick podcast that we just planned. So just talk to me about the lineup. And honestly, when you look at the subs bench, do you just sit there and go, wow, like I do? Do you just go, look at that bench? It's insane.
I do with the attacking options, not so much with the defence anymore, which is
Yeah.
really ironic because start of the season, we're missing all our attacking players and we get a bit deeper into the season. Now we're missing all of our defensive players. So we just can't catch a break. And I think one thing we've got to accept as Arsenal fans this season is that, we're 4 months into the season now. We're all waiting for us to have that perfectly fit squad. It's not going to happen. It just will not happen at any point this season. And I've made peace with that. I don't think we're ever going to have every player, every member of the squad fit at any given point. So we've not got to worry about who's going to get left out on the bench because I think the reality of that happening is far-fetched, to be quite honest with you. These injuries are happening on a week by week basis. And we're now at a point where we're going into our busiest period of the season, missing key players in key positions. We're more than likely going to pick up a few more. Trossard went off yesterday. Hopefully that's just precautionary because he's coming back from injury anyway. But he could be out for another week or two. We just don't know. But regarding the lineup, I was excited by it, to be honest with you. Eze, Odegaard playing together. But I think how it played out in real time, I think we quite clearly saw the problems with it. There was no pace in behind. There were no runners. Marino was really static up top. Eze just couldn't get into the game on that left-hand side. And I think that was mainly because Calafiori was occupying a lot of the positions that he wanted to get into. And it just seemed to be a bit of confusion between our players. So I liked it on paper. I think we will probably see that lineup again. And I probably wouldn't be at all surprised to see it against Wolves next week, but maybe with Gyökeres coming in for Marino. And I think you'll see a lot better performance from Eze. I think it was an off day from him. I think the cohesion amongst that left-hand side wasn't Wasn't at the right
Okay,
level, but
let's just start at the beginning because I'm like at the beginning, and I wanted to ask you all these questions as I've got a good question to ask you that someone's just put up about Eze and Odegaard. So we were right with the team, and then the game starts, and to be fair, we weren't at the races. It just first half was I felt exactly what you just said about Marino. So we'll touch back on that. It's a tough one with him, isn't it? It really is a tough one because he don't stop scoring for us. So, so what do you do in that respect? However, Gyökeres is on the bench, and you're like, well, is he fully fit? Um, Villa were very much up for it. It's the live game as well. We never do well 12:30. We're all playing a lot of games. I'm not just saying Arsenal here. So anyone that's listening, go, oh, poor me, poor me. But we have had such heavy, intense games with injuries galore that it's becoming tougher. And our form has dipped a little bit, isn't it? Even though we've been winning. I think Bayern took a lot out of us. You know, then we get a draw at Chelsea. Then we got to play Brentford. Then we got to play, Villa away. It's non-stop. It really is. And with a team, if our squad was fit, we'd have no moans, would we? Um, but there is look. I mean, I should get to some of the questions actually because we're going to touch on this. Half volley, 1886. Also, injuries are part of the game, but when the manager refuses to rotate, it makes things worse. We have the Brentford captain on the bench whilst our midfielders are out on their feet. So I wanted to get into rotation, which is why I asked you about the team. Do you agree with this? Do you think he needs to rotate more? Do you trust him to rotate more? Do you understand why he's not rotating more, James?
I don't think it's so much about rotation, more in-game management. I think we need to be taking players off a bit earlier when we can, but it's not always as cut and dry as that. You know, these are games where you want your best players on the pitch. I would have loved to have seen Norgard, etc., come on for half an hour in the game against Brentford, but reality is, at that point in the game, we were a bit up against it, and you needed
Yeah,
Declan Rice, Supermendy on the pitch to see that game out. I mean, this is the thing, and this is why we're conceding goals now, and we're losing games to the likes of Villa, and we're not necessarily getting over the line against 10-man Chelsea. Yes, we have a great squad and we've got players coming in the positions where we've got injuries. But for these games, you want Gabriel, you want Saliba, you want Kai Havertz, you want these guys that are difference makers. And Saliba and Gabriel, I mean, they're the bedrock of our defence. To miss one of them is bad enough. To miss both of them,
yeah,
any team in the league would suffer without their first choice centre halves. So I don't think it can be underestimated just how important they are to the way we play. So we rotated against Brentford. We made 3 changes. We made changes again yesterday against Aston Villa. But it's going to be interesting to see what Arteta does now because we have 2 games coming up against Bruges and Wolves. Not to sound arrogant, but I think we can all agree we should be winning both of those games, or at least getting a draw against Bruges with
yeah,
a heavily rotated side and winning against Wolves. I would take that. I'd be okay with that. But against Bruges, we're in a very good position in the Champions League. Rotate as much as you feasibly can do. You know, if Saliba's back, keep him on the bench. Don't play him. But against Wolves, that should be a game where, again, I don't want to sound too entitled, but if we're 2-0 up, there's 60 minutes on the clock. You take Declan Rice, Zubimendi, all these guys off the pitch, and you bring on the likes of Christian Norgard, because then we've got a week off before what I think is going to be a hugely important and tough game against Everton away. That is going to be a really, really
yeah,
tough game. So we need to be fresh and ready. And we've got a week off.
yeah.
So there's no excuse not to go into that game. And if we don't perform, that's when people are going to start being like, well, what's going on? But for what it's worth, I think we will.
So it's interesting, isn't it? Everyone's got major opinions on this rotation thing. I think Norgard could have come on. I do get it. The problem you've got with Rice, he's so super, super wonderful. You never want to see him off. However, you don't want him running the ground. You don't want him getting injured for a few months because that will absolutely uh, crucify us. We cannot have an injured Rice. I'm touching wood, people. I'm touching wood. Um, he's like a warrior, isn't he? But do you feel right? So let's ask this question then, because this is where I wanted to go to. Odegaard's performance yesterday seems to be split on social media everywhere. Some are saying he's man of the match, some are saying he was terrible. So, half volley again. Thanks for your questions, by the way. Odegaard is weak and flatters to deceive. We are doing fine with Eze in a 10 until he returned. What's your thoughts on that, James?
I think it's harsh.
Mm,
First and foremost, because he's only just coming back from an injury. I think we've got to take that into account. The guy's been out for 2 months pretty much, and he's only just coming back now. So let's give him a little bit of time to show what he can really do in his Arsenal side. And before he did get injured, he was playing really, really well. So I'm happy to give him a bit of time. He's got a couple of games coming up where he should really stamp his authority on the team. I don't think he's weak. I can understand where that rhetoric is coming from. There's a couple of clips going around on social media where he doesn't look like he's doing as much as he possibly can do in the build up to the goal that we conceded right at the death. But I think there's going to be moments in games where Eze is going to be better in that 10 position. Odegaard's going to be better in that 10 position. Against Chelsea, I would have preferred Odegaard in there. But, you know, games against, like, go back to Newcastle, Eze played at 10, was unbelievable in that game. So good. So I think it's going to depend on game states. And I still think they're going to play a hell of a lot together. I think you can either play them as dual eights, or I think you can play Eze still on that left-hand side, which people
yeah,
aren't necessarily going to want to hear. But if Eze can come in occasionally, and you've got Calafiori or Hincapie or whoever it is on that left-hand side overlapping and providing the width, Eze and Odegaard can both occupy, you know, a similar area of the pitch and be even more dangerous and create overloads. So I'm not. I think it's a little bit too soon to be jumping on the Odegaard is weak. Odegaard isn't, you know, benefiting the team. Eze has had plenty of performances. Well, not plenty, but he's had a handful of performances where he's just been ineffective at 10. You know, Chelsea away did nothing. Aston Villa did nothing. You know, I'm not being harsh here, but it's just reality. The one thing Odegaard doesn't do is hide in games. He always presses. You know, he's on the pitch when he's playing, whereas you can't necessarily say that about Eze. I'm not saying that as a dig, but they're different types of players. But I think that it's great to have them both as options. But we've got to get them both. We've got to get behind both of them. You know, not a lot of teams are going to have the luxury of having a Martin
no.
Odegaard and an Eberechi Eze.
But and Eze didn't work out the first 45 minutes, did it? And before we'll talk about the goal we conceded. I said to Carl, we need Gyökeres on at half time. And I said, I don't think he'll do it. He never does a half time. Hence, he does the half time. Now, Eze lost his man and they scored from the far post. For me, that's down to him. I'm not blaming Raya. I've seen people blame Raya. I can't understand that. Tracking your man back is part and parcel of football, and he didn't, and he lost him. And this is why I do feel with Gabriel and Saliba out, these mistakes are going to happen. When did they score? Was it around 30 something minutes? It
Yeah, it
wasn't.
was in the latter stage of the first half.
Yeah. And this is what Phil's saying, that Eze was lost on the wing, sadly. So we've got to find it to work, because I do believe that Odegaard and Eze could work brilliantly together. Just going back to Odegaard slightly, I like Odegaard, but my issue has been for some time he doesn't score enough goals. I thought he'd be out one matter, but Odegaard has lost his scoring boots. He's been injured. Do you want to just give him a break? He's been injured for quite a while. We do really like Odegaard on this podcast, and we do really appreciate, different opinions. Of course we do, but it just feels a little bit too much. Did he get man of the match yesterday from
Martin
the?
Keown gave him man of the match. I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with that, but I think in the second half, he instantly looked better when he had different players around him. You know, when he had Trossard next to him, when he had Gyökeres in front of him, when he had more movement around him, I thought Odegaard looks a much improved player. It doesn't help when he's playing with Marino in front of him. I don't
No,
think you can play Marino and Odegaard. I don't think it works.
no, no, and I agree with that. Um, and see, people are saying like Herb Garden, as he calls him, and Eze together too. I think we just need to give it time. It's a brand new partnership, possibly, and then we've got other players as well. So to see Trossard on the bench was fantastic. And I'm not being funny, James. You can ask Carl this. I called it. So bring Trossard on. He scores, does what he needs to do, and I said, right, sub him. Bring Martinelli on. And Carl said, but you can't do that. We've just brought him on. So yes, we can. He's done his job. He scored the goal. Now we need something different. And he only goes and does it. Now, I don't think he's injured, James. I think that was the reason he did it. because Trossard wasn't. He did exactly what he needed to do. It was fantastic. Do you know how many times that boy has bailed us out this season? And I just think with the fact that you've got Martinelli on the bench as well, and you know what I said last week, and you called me hyperbolic, I do believe that Martinelli is a super sub. I do. It didn't work yesterday, but I generally believe, but he can't play 90 minutes. So do you think that I was being hyperbolic still this week, or do you sort of understand what I'm trying to say about
Yeah, I do.
Martinelli?
I do, to be honest, because I would have started Martinelli yesterday. I
Okay.
think I would have started Martinelli. I'd have given him 60 minutes, then I'd have brought Trossard on. I think that's the way I would have gone about it. And then you don't necessarily need to play both Odegaard and Eze. I don't think it was a game that was set up to necessarily have both Odegaard and Eze playing. But I do think in a game where you need to work hard, track back, and that comes kind of first and foremost above everything else, that's a game for Martinelli. And that's why, if you were to give me a Champions League final preview show tomorrow, if we ever got that far, honestly, Martinelli would be my first choice on that left-hand side because he always, always, always does the basic stuff really, really well. He can frustrate, but the good thing about him is he can really, really wear teams down through his relentless running. And yes, I get it. He can frustrate. He could be annoying. But then when you've got players like Eze, Trossard that can necessarily come on in the last half an hour of games to replace him, that's where I think that works really well. And it was evidence on that first goal we conceded. Martinelli doesn't do that. Martinelli would be on Matty Cash. He would know exactly where to be. And I'm not going to lay in too hard on Eze. Look, it is his fault. There's no getting away from that. He loses man. Just look at the replay. He screams as he sees Matty Cash pick up the ball. He knows full well that is on him, and it's his mistake. The saving grace of that is, I don't think he'll do that again.
No, you learn. As I was saying,
Yeah,
you learn from that.
I think he will know exactly what he did and what went wrong. So if he starts on the left wing, he will know he has to work harder. But I don't know if you can necessarily transform him into the guy that is going to press and relentlessly run. It's just not his game. Kind of like it wasn't with Mesut Ozil. Very different players, but you know what I mean. It's just not naturally embedded in them to do that. But I think if you want to be a player in a Mikel Arteta side, you have to do the basics and the fundamentals before everything else.
Well, again, half volley. Eze did fine in a 10 against Newcastle, and that was a more physical game. He doesn't have the attacking or defensive instincts to play left wing. So Eze's new. You start a new job, you've got to find your way. We're finding our way with him. And I want to just I'll get on to Gyökeres later. But so we go in at half time. Thankfully, he made the changes. Did he do Trossard at that time? Was it just Gyökeres he brought on? I can't remember.
No, brought them both on for
He brought
Marino
them
and
both
Eze.
on, which I was really proud of him for doing that because a lot of managers wouldn't do it at half time. He could see it wasn't working. He pulls off the players I think deserve to come off, and not each game a player is going to shine differently. For instance, Eze against Tottenham was insane. Yesterday he wasn't, so it was right to pull him off. At the end of the day, if it wasn't working, that's where I think Arteta is good at in-game management, where I can see a few people saying he's not. And then we come out a completely different team, James. We go for it, which, looking back on, look, we're going to get onto social media shortly, but looking back on a few comments over the away games that we've drawn or lost, right? The Sunderland, the Chelsea, even the Liverpool. It doesn't look like he sets up to go and win, does it? It looks like he sets up not to win, sorry. What I'm trying to say, he looks like he sets up to catch him on the break and not go for it. Where yesterday, second half, he came out and it was all guns blazing, excuse the pun.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely agree with that sentiment when we played Liverpool away. We were way too conservative in that game. And if we could play it again, I would just love us to play, a team that is capable of being more attack minded. I remember that was not long after we signed Eze. We had him on the bench, and I just feel like we could have done a lot more in that game. Obviously, that's easier to say now that Liverpool have fallen apart. That wasn't the case when we played them at the time,
No,
but
cool.
hindsight's a wonderful thing. Against the likes of Sunderland, Chelsea, etc., I think we've gone there to go and win those games. It's just not played out in the way we would have hoped, and it doesn't help that I'm not using this as an excuse, but we're playing these teams in their hot periods. Sunderland, when we played them banging form as they have been all season. Yesterday's result aside, they've been very, very good this season. Never going to be an easy game. And it's a game that we were so close to winning as well. So close to winning. We were brilliant in that second half.
Yeah.
And then you look at the game against Chelsea. Okay, we weren't great, but again, Chelsea banging form, really up for the game. Not an excuse, but it's just catching them at a bad time. And again with Villa, informed team, scoring goals for fun. They've been winning games pretty much relentlessly since the end of September. Just not a good time to play them. But then I get that our record against the top half of the table away from home, or in general this season, hasn't been amazing. We've drawn at home to City, we've lost to Liverpool, we've lost to Aston Villa now. But you've got to take into context that a lot of these games are away from home. We're playing teams in very good periods. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm making too many excuses here, but at the end of the season, I think that record will look a lot healthier once we've played these sides at home. I mean, who have we got left to play away that's going to be a seriously tough game? Everton is coming up. I don't think that's going to be easy, but many people would just look at the Etihad and say every other game we should be fairly comfortable in. It won't play out like that. It definitely won't play out like that. But all the other ones that I'd say are really tough, done, dusted. And look, we've been to places like St James's Park. We've won there. They're not in the top 10, but it's still a really tough place to go. They beat City there. And I just think this will hopefully level out. We've just got to make sure we beat these sides
It
at
will.
home.
So, okay, so I'm going to get into I'll do social media later, as I said. But, okay. We start the second half, as I said, all guns blazing. It was great. It was the Arsenal we wanted to see. They pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And you can all criticise Odegaard all you want, but he did the lovely little pass to Saka and the neat little touch from Saka. And Trossard, bang in form, bangs it home. Good night. It's 1-1. Now I started to think maybe my 1-1 was a bit conservative because now I felt we were going to go on and win the game. And although I'm quite, I wouldn't say negative, I'm more realistic. I honestly thought, James, at 1-1, it was ours. I thought Aston Villa looked tired. I really thought they were shocked at how we came out second half. It didn't transpire like that, did it? Unfortunately. Your thoughts on the second half, and let's get to Hincapie. Fun enough, someone's just mentioned that, and I'll star that in a second. I'll put that up.
I
So,
thought start of second half, we were excellent.
yeah.
Really, really good. Those changes had an immediate impact. We had the runners in behind. Trossard looks good every time he touched the ball. I thought he was a real difference maker. And we just came out with serious intent. Villa just couldn't touch the ball. Like, we were that dominant at that phase in the game. We got the goal, which you have to say had been coming, because we had a few more chances before that to put it in the back of the net. And from that point on, I thought, great. If we carry on like this, we're going to win this game. It carried on like that for maybe a few more minutes. Then it drastically declined, like really quickly. It declined quite badly. And Villa were the ones who took the onus, and they were like, right, we're going to take it to you. And that's exactly what they did. They took more risks. They looked like they had more running power. And look, like John has just said in the chat there, we took our foot off the gas, but maybe that's because we're running out of gas. And I don't want to use that again as an excuse. Villa have played a really tough game away at Brighton. They've exerted a lot of energy in that game. We've played a lot of games. We played a lot of high intensity games against very, very elite opposition. But when you're missing your big key players, it certainly doesn't help. And yeah, it's frustrating that we couldn't do more. I really felt like we could have done a lot more. I didn't agree with the Saka substitution. I think he looked like our most dangerous player every time he got the ball. And if something was going to happen in that game in the final 10, 15 minutes, it was going to come through him. I know it was on a yellow card, but it's still one of those changes I wouldn't have made. But yeah, it was just a shame because you can see how much quality we've got. But I think it's, as so many other people have said, it's just one game too far. Given the run we've had, given the teams we've come up against and the energy we've put into these games. I think the games we've got coming up now, Bruges, Wolves, Everton, they're coming at a good time, because after that, we've got a really tough patch
I don't
again.
even want to think about it.
No,
But
Christmas is going to be horrible.
I've got a question on the next 4 games. Right, so let's get to the goal. Now, Me and my dad's famous thing is kick the ball into row Z. Now, talk to me about Hincapie yesterday because Dom Tricks 224, and thank you for your question. Can we all agree Hincapie was dreadful yesterday, not just for the mistake at the end, but throughout the game? I'm not sure he was dreadful through the game. He was dreadful at that moment, and he panicked, and I just went, "What is he doing?" But do you think he was dreadful through the game?
No, absolutely not.
No.
He had
Okay.
moments where you looked at him and thought, "Oh, that's a little bit shaky," but for the most part, I thought he had a really solid game. You know, he's someone that I would have given a 7 out of 10 if we hadn't have made that mistake at the end. And you got to remember, he's filling in for a guy like Gabriel, who is such a mainstay in the team. He's playing again with new partnerships. He's playing with Yuri and Timber. It's not easy for him. You know, he's played with Mascara, he's played with Saliba, he's now playing with Yuri and Timber. All four of those players in the back line yesterday, fantastic players, but it's all new partnerships. It's all, new cohesion that you need to form, and we just didn't have that. So I don't blame him at all for some of those hairy moments. But I think dreadful is too much. I think that's too far. He was pretty much fine until that error at the end. I don't know what he was doing.
No.
He had all the time in the world. All he
Yeah.
has to do is kick that away. There's going to be
Yeah.
20 seconds left. You see that game out, get out of there with a point, job done. Maybe it's because he's nowhere near as strong on his right foot as he is with his left, but it just looked like he took one touch too many. And there was a lot that happened before we conceded that goal, but it stems from that mistake, which was very, very, very avoidable.
And as Phil said, you can replace Gabby Saliba and accept some same levels. No, you can. I don't agree with that. They're just the Rolls Royce of defending. So for me, but I didn't feel Hincapie was terrible through the game. I thought that was terrible. Um, I don't know. It's really hard, James. I think they scored 94 minutes and 5 seconds. You just know it's the last kick of the game. That's it. It was unlucky. We blocked and blocked, and it looked like we were going to clear it, James. We didn't, and he hits the roof of the net, and your hearts go, don't
Can
they?
we, sorry, Amanda, can we just look
Go
at
on.
this comment here from Per Hansen that says we're just not that good?
Yeah, of
Saying
course,
that
go on.
I just think this is too harsh. Like,
Well,
where are
we
you
are going to
getting
get
this?
into social media. Don't
But I
worry.
just I
This
just
is
don't
what.
get it. We
No,
I get it. Look, we've only beaten Palace, we've only beaten United at the top half of the table. Fine, whatever. We're
so
top of the
what?
league still. Like,
Exactly.
what does that say about all the other teams that are around the rest of the league? We're winning the games we're meant to. A lot of those games away in the top 10, like I say, have come away. You're not necessarily going to win them all. The old saying was always draw away against teams that, are going to cause you problems and beat them at home. And that's what gets you to the title. If we win our next, 3 games or whatever, we're on course for a 85, 90-point season, something like that, which you would think in this league should be enough to go and win it. So yeah, I just think those comments, as with all the stuff on social media yesterday, is just way too over the top.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a sec because I've got something I want to read out. But and Per Hansen, we appreciate the fact that you feel like that. He's put fair enough, but we have to beat difficult teams to finally win the title. The thing is, what I don't understand, we're in top in both leagues. We've lost two. We've lost what? Sorry, I got it right now. We've lost one in the last 19. I don't know, and I'm going to start this right now, James, because I've had enough. I am going on a rant. Okay, I've said it till I'm blue in the face. You do not win the league in September, October, November, December, January, or February. You just don't. Let's get into March and then we can have conversations. We are top. We are doing what we can. We have got injuries galore and this madness. You think I'm hyperbolic over Martinelli? You should see social media. Well, people that are not on social media, you should see what's been going on all night. I've had to literally, during the party last night, step and go. It, you are all mad. And I'll say it for the people in the back that cannot hear, and I'll say it again and again and again. You are not going to win every single game in every single competition we play. That is it. We're not. And someone on social media, and I'm going to credit him, Tony Sharpie, someone I've followed for many years, a top gooner, said this to me. Loads are saying City don't concede injury time goals. They obviously didn't see the game at the Emirates. City lost at St James's Park. We won. City lost at home to Spurs. I can't remember a bigger overreaction for losing our second game in 19 by December the 6th. That is spot on. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of tweets. So, and not only on X, Blues everywhere. Arsenal fans, I do not understand you. I really, really don't. We are top. We are not 18th. We are not 5th. We are top. We're going through a little bit of a period maybe now with a couple of away games that are not so good. Of course, if this continues, James, and there's 4 or 5 games we're losing, I'll be going mental on here anyway, regardless. But I just cannot believe the overreaction. I mean, yeah, Carl's saying it. We're still top. I can't believe people are losing it. Yeah, what do they want? Do they want us to be perfect every single game? What people don't realise is, and I said this to Carl when we were driving yesterday, every single fan base and every team want to beat Arsenal. That is the standard we've set, James. That is it. No one talks about City. Liverpool are on, drawing 3-3 at Leeds. They don't get as much attention as we do. The narrative through the media have started all this by going, it's Arsenal's league to lose. No one's won the league in December, media. You don't win the league in December, media. And don't start with that narrative. And I also want to come back to something that there was an Arteta quote. I'll find it in a second. 1 second. He's come out and said some things today. I'll find it later. But James, can you believe what is going on? Can you?
Yes.
Why? Why? It's not acceptable though, is it? Right. So apparently this chick is delusional. First of all, I have a name. And second of all, you can say whatever you like, but I'm not delusional. I'm speaking facts. Are we not top of the league? Are we not top of the Champions League? Are we not 2 points clear? I'll state my case.
I think it's just the expectation around Arsenal is so high now that
Yeah.
every time there's a hiccup, it feels like the world is imploding, which you and me, as so many others have watched a lot of football, and we've seen some dreadful Arsenal sides, like truly dreadful Arsenal teams. We've grown up, well, I have anyway, watching some pretty horrendous players at times. And it wasn't too long ago that we had the likes of Mustafi, Socrates, Danny Ceballos in the team. And when you look at how far we've come and the players we've got and the options we've got, we're living a luxurious life at the minute in terms of what this Arsenal team is and what it's capable of. There's obviously a little bit of PTSD from previous seasons where we've come so close to winning the league and we've not gone over the line. And that's again why immediately the bottling rhetoric comes out. Can you bottle a league in December? I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think you can do either. We've got to play a lot of these teams that we've played away from home at home. And I think that's where the difference and the gap is going to start to grow. But if you think we're going to ever have breathing space, like real breathing space, I'm talking 10 plus points at the top of the league, it's not going to happen. Liverpool set a precedent last season where they didn't have any challenges, really. Like, we never really pushed Liverpool. They basically had the title sewn up from what felt like January because no one was coming close to them at that point. City were off it. We were miles off it. Whereas this season, I think there's an expectation that we should be the ones that are miles, miles, miles ahead. It's just not going to happen. City are a side that have won the league numerous times in the past, in recent history. And I think they're probably our main challenges at the minute. You've got to respect Villa whilst they're up there as well. They're not dropping points.
Oh, exactly.
But it's because we've got City breathing down our neck. And I really think it comes down to that. But you've got to remember, City have lost 4 in 15. They've basically lost a third of their games. If they carry on like that, and they're conceding a lot of goals as well at the minute, they conceded 6 to Leeds and Fulham. So they're going to concede more goals. They'll no doubt invest in January, and that will help their situation. But they could lose 8 games this season. Can you win a league losing that many? Potentially, if you win a lot as well. But I still think we're a better side than City. That game at the Etihad could be huge. If we win that, I think we win the league. But this is a game that you can lose. This Villa away is a game you can lose. They're an excellent side. They beat Man City. They're going to take points of our rivals. They've lost 1 in 31. Draw would have been a fine result, but sometimes you
I
just got
won,
to take your medicine.
and also, yeah, that's right. Villa played to the end. They saw it, they went for it, and they scored. But apart from the Hincapie mistake, it would have been 1-1, wouldn't it? We're 30 seconds away from the whistle going or whatever. And then would have this been so bad? And I've never seen anything like I've not stopped arguing with people. I've given up now. Um, Nigel, I understand. That's what people are scared of because City are only 2 points behind us. It's December. You never know
But
in a couple
also
of.
with this, City haven't played a lot of the games we have.
No.
And the games
And
we have played that we've won, they've lost. You look at St James's Park, prime example.
yeah.
They lost that game. We won there. They've still got to go to. They've still got to go to Anfield, haven't they? They've still got to play Chelsea twice. I think 2 points doesn't feel like a lot, but given what we've played and given that we've got these really tough fixtures out of the way, I think we're perfectly placed. They've got a tough game coming up this weekend. I can't quite remember who it's against. Palace away. They've got Palace away coming up next. If we beat Wolves and they get a draw against Palace, suddenly we've got breathing space again.
And also, I will say this: I do believe the players do look at social media. If they'd have looked at social media last night, people are acting like we're 15th in the league. We lost 4-0 yesterday, and we've been atrocious. If you can't support us when we lose, don't support us when we win, because I'm telling you now, Arteta has. I'm trying to find what he said this morning. I don't know where I've seen it, but I've seen it somewhere. Um, you know, it's gonna we have to turn it around. We've had a loss. It's very easy to the momentum to keep going when you're winning and the fans are behind you and you're winning, winning, winning. And then all of a sudden you have a cut a draw, people are on your backs, then you win, and then all of a sudden you lose. Yeah. Well, the players need support. They don't need to see this absolute nonsense. I'll say it again. Nothing is won in December. And you look at the fact of, Liverpool. What position would you rather be in, ours or theirs? They won the league last year. They look like to me, and I don't want to speak too soon, that they're imploding. You've got Mo Salah coming out. Have you seen this, James? What he said last night?
Mm. Yep.
And I will have a view on this. He has no right to say that. His performances haven't been good enough. I don't care on your past performance. You don't go on past performances. You can't go on last season if your performances are not good enough now. And to come out and do that against, I actually think he wants to leave, because if he doesn't know his club by now and their fans, how would we react if someone did that to us, James?
Well, we pretty much have in the past. We've had similar situations with players like Ozil, Aubameyang. Maybe not to that extent, but we've not been short of drama in recent years.
Yeah, but have we ever had a player do maybe Aubameyang and no one? I'm sorry, no club, no player is bigger than the club, and of all fans to do it to, I'm very interested in what Liverpool fans think about this. We haven't got this. We've got unity. We've got players coming back from injury, but we have got major injuries, and we are trying our best with major injuries. One game we didn't even have a striker. Marino had to play up there. He's not a striker. Yet, however, we are still 2 points ahead in the league. Don't tell me if I'd have said this to all of you in August. Right, we will be top of the Champions League, 2 points clear on December the 7th, that you wouldn't have taken this with all the injuries we've got. And to be fair, I thought Havertz was coming back last week, James. All intents and purposes to what I was hearing and reading, he was coming back. This is why I don't believe everything you read. I'm just, I'm just totally, totally upset about it all, because they are like our family and we have to support them. Do you not think they're feeling down today, James? Do you not think to losing how? I mean, you lose it, but in the last seconds must be the most depressing thought.
It's football. This can happen. It can happen in Sunday League. It can happen at the highest level. You're not going to win every single game, and that's just how it goes sometimes. And if you think it's going to be as straightforward as we're just going to win every game's going to be absolutely perfect, and there's going to be nothing to complain about, it's just not reality. just not how it goes. We're in a perfectly fine position right now. Yes, I think we need to start winning away from home, and that begins at Everton. And it even begins with Bruges. I want us to rotate. I said previously I'd be okay with a point, but a good win out there certainly wouldn't do this team any harm, given how it's been recently. But I'm saying that like we're really down in the pits. It's not
Exactly,
like
we're
that.
not.
We've played a lot of tough teams, but I've got full faith in this manager, in this team to turn it around. As soon as we get one of Saliba or Gabriel back, I think we'll be absolutely fine. But in a month's time, we should have them both back and available. So this won't go on forever. And as soon as we have got those guys back, we'll be healthy. I think I truly do.
Okay, let's just go to a few of the comments. Right. So, um, looking at the next 4 Premier League games, I fully expect 12 points. We should be able to get max points with the players refreshed. So, let's just start with Bruges and Wolves because we're not going to be back till after then. Guys, put in the comments what you think your predictions are for Bruges away and then Wolves at home next Saturday night, 8 o'clock. So, James, what are you saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to look too far ahead, but just going off that comment with the next 4 league games,
Mm.
just looking at the Premier League, I agree with that. And to be honest, I would go as far as saying the next 6 Premier League games, I would kind of expect us to win.
Oh, God.
I'm not, I don't look. We've got to go on a run. I think this is how you create breathing space. Aston Villa, I wasn't paying too much attention to their results because they had such a poor start to the season, but then they've gone on a run, and before you know it, they're 3 points behind us. So we need to go on a run similar to that and create a little bit of breathing space again, I think. Wolves at home should win that. Everton away should win that. Brighton at home, Villa at home. I would expect us to win both of those. Bournemouth away, that could be tricky, but I would expect us to win there as well. Then it's Liverpool at home. We should beat this Liverpool side. So it's not going to be that straightforward. Will we win all 6? No, I don't think that's going to happen. But I think we've got the capability to do it. With the injuries, I don't know. But if we get Havertz back, if we can get Saliba back soon, yeah, I mean, look, we can
I'm
take
with
it one
John
game.
though, James. I'm
Yeah, we
with
can take it.
John.
We can take it one game at
One
a
game
time.
at a time. I think me and John are on the same page on everything today. Right, come on then. What we going with? We've got 3-0 to us from Phil and 4-0. So high scoring games. James, what's your prediction?
Bruges, I'm just going to go 1-0 to us. And then Wolves at home, I'll go 3-0.
So I've gone 1-0 at Bruges because I think we are going to heavily rotate, but I've gone 3-1 at home. So you're 3-0, yeah? Okay, cool. I think it's fabulous that we're at home next week. We need that. We definitely need that. I'm just putting some of the predictions up for people that are listening. We've got generally people think we are going to win at Bruges and win against Wolves. Dak Hoea, rest everyone that doesn't need minutes for Bruges and go strong for Wolves. I totally agree with that. That is exactly where I was coming from. Let's go to a few more comments before. Right, just going back to yesterday because I wanted to ask this actually. Should we have started Gyökeres rather than Mourinho yesterday? Gyökeres seemed better at pinning the Villa defence back. That was from Carl Stark. Thank you, Carl, for your question.
Um, Tough one to answer because I don't think you could drop Marino given the form he'd been in going into the game. He got a goal and assist against Brentford. He got the goal against Chelsea. He scored a good couple of goals before those games as well. So I don't think it was the wrong call to start Marino, but I think Arteta recognised very quickly that it wasn't necessarily working in that first half, and you have to say fair play to him for making that change at half time. But I would definitely start Gyökeres against Bruges because he needs to get
Yeah.
his confidence up. I've seen a lot of people digging him out on social media, and I think a goal against Bruges and I'd start him against Wolves as well. If he could get a couple of goals across both of these games, that'd do him the world of good.
I agree. We need a fully fit Gyökeres. Okay, there's one thing I'm going to win with, but I'll leave that there for the time being. Right, so everybody else, just calm down, okay? It's a long season, and sometimes I feel like this. If you can't deal with this now, the ride is not for you. There's going to be so many twists and turns in this, and one of the things that I want to put up, I haven't mentioned this for a while. In 88, 89, we dropped points versus Villa, Coventry, Charlton, Millwall, Southampton, Forest, lost to Derby twice, Wimbledon. It's a effing title race. We are not going to run away with it. That is not the Arsenal way. So keep your blood pressure down, support the boys, and let's just go to Bruges and rotate a little bit, and then hopefully we'll all be there. Are you there next Saturday night, Jamie? I've never called you Jamie. Actually, I don't know why I did that.
Yeah, don't.
I've never
Yeah, I
done
will. I
that
will.
before.
I will be there. Yeah.
Also, Emerson just said Jesus got minutes yesterday and scored, and Dowman and Oxlade-Chamberlain among who played in the friendly. Yeah, there was a friendly, wasn't there, behind closed doors. So it would be good to get Jesus back, that's for sure. So everyone in the chat, thank you so much. Please, on the way out, can you press like and can you press hype? Apparently, it gets this podcast out to people. I just want to give a little big shout out to someone I met last night, Amy, friend of the podcast. It was wonderful to spend the evening with you. And next weekend, once I have a few more times, I'll put our little picture up and discuss women in football as well. So, Amy, thank you so much for supporting the podcast. Same with everybody else. Thank you for all your comments and stuff. We are very happy that you've joined us this morning, aren't we, James?
Certainly are.
Nigel said, great show as always, great comments as usual. See you all soon. Up the Arsenal. Always Arsenal. Absolutely. So, on that note, we're going to say goodbye. Enjoy your Sunday afternoon, and everyone, calm the F down. Bye bye.